everyone. How are you? I wanted to come to you live and talk a little bit about the medicine that COVID-19 is for many of us. I love this comment that I saw recently that the truth is being presented. And when we think about, people are kind of joking at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of news stories making the comment that there'll be COVID-19 divorces, through this lockdown period. And it really isn't about the lockdown. It's that this time of being locked in is forcing us to sit in our stillness, and our truth lives in the stillness. I've often talked about when we're numbing, when we're busy, when we're avoiding our life through overworking or over-exercising, or through checking out and avoiding numbing with food, sex, drugs, alcohol, we are really trying to avoid the truth that might be trying to be presented to us. And there's a lot of people who are being forced to look at those truths right now. So as you're jumping on, please post comments, post emojis, let me know how you're feeling, what resonates with you. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat box and I'll try and answer as much as I can. So, for me, a lot of this, I use the example of bitch slaps and wake-up calls. I think that this starts initially as a small tap on our shoulder, where life might be whispering in the back of our ear and we feel something calling to us or saying, something's not quite right. I'm not happy doing this job. I'm not satisfied in this area of my life. This doesn't feel in alignment for me. I don't know if I can stay in this marriage. I feel like I need to spread my wings and try something new or different. There's lots of ways that it whispers to us, speaks to us, tries to get us to pay attention. And when we ignore it, it starts to slap you around a little bit. And we've all had a bitch slap from the universe at some point in our lives, where if we continue to ignore things, it's going to get our attention. And often the only way it can get us to pay attention is through physical pain, through illness and disease in the body. And if you ignore it long enough, I say it becomes like Miley Cyrus swinging naked through your living room on a wrecking ball. And whether it comes in the form of heart attack or cancer, often these are wake-up calls, not for everyone, but a huge amount of the time when you hear people who are survivors as well, they'll often talk about this being the biggest turning point in their life, that it changed their life for the better in many, many ways, that it was a gift that awakened them, that made them think about what mattered in life or change something that wasn't working for themselves. So what is the medicine that this moment is trying to get you to listen to before it has to become a bitch slap or a wrecking ball in your life? What do you believe this time is calling you to? What truth are you trying to sit with in the stillness? Where are you out of alignment or not living in your truth, not fulfilling your purpose, whatever it might be? And where might you need to be starting to make those changes? Or maybe you're in the numbing phase. Maybe you're aware that you're massively triggered. You're not kind of getting the message that something's trying to come through, but you're feeling it in lots of different ways. You might be one of the mums. I'm seeing a lot of mums with kids posting about day drinking and all these posts of wine, and it just makes me want to cringe. This is not funny. It's not humor to post that people are becoming alcoholics because they can't cope right now. There is a difference between, people often say to me, well, you're saying that we can't ever drink or smoke a joint or do anything fun or have a pie. It's about the intention. When you are using something to cope, you're using it as a crutch. You're using it to check out of your situation, your life, to cope and avoid. That is a Band-Aid, and it is a very slippery slope to addiction. Most people will end up overeating, overdrinking, over smoking, whatever it is, becoming addicts in some way, shape or form, when their coping skill becomes using something to numb and avoid. So what can we do? I think that the most important thing you can do right now is find moments of complete stillness to get honest with yourself, to get truthful with yourself, to get centered, to come into that peaceful place and not to be scared of it. You know, so many of us are scared of that silence, scared of what it might mean. Well, what's the worst thing? You know, if you don't listen and you avoid long enough, you get the wrecking ball of Miley Cyrus anyway. So if you do listen and you have to kind of go through the fire, you have to go through the fear, on the other side of it is a freedom, it is our ascension work, our awakening work. It is our way that we find ourselves to be able to live in our truth. So for me, it's looking at a few things. One of the questions that I often ask myself when I find myself massively triggered, that I'm, whether it's with a family member or a friend or a conversation or something that I feel like I was called out on or just did the wrong thing, hung up and thought, oh, did I have to show up like that? That's not me. What was, going on? One of the questions I like to ask is it okay that it is, that I did show up like that, that I am feeling like that I may not have X, Y, and Z planned out for the next year? Whatever the question is it okay? Is it okay that right now this is who I am, where I'm at in my life? Can I be okay with this? And the answer is always yes. Yes, yes. I can come back to loving myself in this present moment and forgiving myself and not being so hard on myself. And another great question in terms of reflection is asking myself what's working for me, what's not, and what do I need to do differently? Put that on a post-it note on the back of the toilet door, on your laptop computer, on your fridge. It will change your life. What's working, what's not, and what do I need to do differently? And asking yourself that every hour or two after a call with a relative, after a meeting with a client, after a presentation, whatever it might be, you can use this in personal and professional areas of your life. What's working, what's not, and what do I need to do differently in that conversation, in that meeting, in that setting? And it's important to ask all three, because we often just want to criticize ourselves about what's not working, and it's not helpful. We need to be loving and kind, that there's always something that we can pat ourselves on the back for. And then the work is in the what will I do differently? Without that piece, we don't change and we repeat the same patterns. And we get to forgive ourselves. You know, Maya Angelou says, when I know better, I do better. And I absolutely love that quote by her, because when I know better, I'll do better, but I can forgive myself for not knowing better, for not doing better in that moment. So it's okay. So for those who are just tuning in, feel free to ask any questions, drop me an emoji, let me know who's here. Hey, Tegan. And you can go back and catch the replay of the full video, but I'm really talking about how the medicine that COVID-19 is presenting humanity with is this opportunity collectively and individually to look at what truth is being presented to you. And our truth lives in the stillness. When we get quiet and still with ourselves and we get to reflect on our life, which lockdown is forcing us to do in many, many, many ways. And when we choose not to check out and numb and avoid and to be with the discomfort, because it is very uncomfortable. And in the beginning of this pandemic, I use the analogy a lot of the butterfly. You know, we are in the cocoon right now. We are in the gooey messiness. If you were to open a cocoon up midway, you would find liquid goo. The caterpillar dissolves every part of it, and it becomes a completely different form, and then it reshapes and transforms and is reborn. And it's got to be painful. Can you imagine being that caterpillar and you're literally dissolving? You're not who you were any longer. You would be feeling completely out of your depth. You'd have a psychic meltdown. You'd be thinking, what is going on here? Most people wouldn't have words for it, wouldn't be able to figure out what this is. And we are in many, many ways that caterpillar. And we are in the cocoon and we are dissolving and we are becoming something else. We are being reborn. We are having truth presented to us. And those who will struggle the most are the ones that want to refuse to surrender, to refuse to sit in the goo, to refuse to reshape, to refuse the truth, and to refuse the medicine. You know, it's very difficult and very challenging to sit in our stuff. So, you know, I have spent 10 years doing this work through shame, through secrets, through trauma, PTSD, you name it. I have had to go through that layers and layers of the onion to do my healing work. I don't think it ever ends. And what I know is that it is possible to feel the fear. It is possible to trust yourself, to not have to numb and check out and avoid, that you can feel these feelings and be with the truth that is being presented to you. So asking those questions, what's working, what's not, and what do I need to do differently? Looking at our triggers, a really great reflective tool for anyone who is being massively triggered right now is to ask it in 3 parts: me or you, them, and us. So when I think about, you know, if you're triggered by a conversation, an incident of some kind, you look at you first. What do I need to own in this? Because there's always shit that's your own. There's always a part of it that you have come in with a certain tone or a certain way of being or showing up. There's some part of it you need to own and have responsibility for. And it could be a huge portion of it, or it could be a small portion of it, depending on the situation. But what do you need to own about how you came to that interaction and how you showed up with that person or that in that situation, scenario? And then you look at them. What is separate from you that they have to own? Maybe they were passive aggressive. Maybe they have their own trauma and their past is coming into their present and it wasn't really anything to do with you and the situation that was there. They've got their own filter. So where might there be some stuff that actually has nothing to do with you, and can we have empathy for that? Can we understand why that might be a part of the dynamic? And then looking at us. So what needs to be said to release this trigger, to work on this trigger? Do I do that work on my own? Is it already through this questioning process that I feel it's cleared and I don't need to do anything further? Or do I need to have a conversation with this person? Do I need to set boundaries so this doesn't happen in the future? Do I need to be able to speak my truth and share what came up for me in this connection or experience? So I think the more that you can be reflective right now, rather than numbing and checking out and avoiding, calling yourself to sit in the truth that's being presented through this medicine of sitting in lockdown, through all the triggers that are coming at you with this experience, how family and friends and the community, everyone's handling it so differently. How can you be in compassion and not judgment? You know, there's a really beautiful post I put on my wall the other day that came from Prakasa Yogi. And I'm going to read it to you because I think that this is really potent and powerful. So he starts with, Master, how can I face isolation? And, you know, and this is a question that so many people are resisting and unable to surrender to right now, are fighting to be out of lockdown when maybe their city isn't quite ready, depending where they are in the world. And so that I thought, you know, is just a beautiful way to start. Master, how can I face isolation? And this is from the spiritual perspective. And he goes on to say, even the ones, he says, Master, how can I face isolation? Clean your house thoroughly, in every corner, even the ones you never felt like. The courage and the patience to play, make your house bright and well cared for, and remove the dust and the cobwebs and the impurities, and even the most hidden. Your house represents you. If you take care of it, you also take care of yourself. And, you know, I think this is a great analogy that he's using. Like, the first step is to be cleaning house, to be cleaning the dust and the cobwebs from you and your home. Master, but the time is long. After taking care of me through my house, how can I live the isolation? Fix what can be fixed and remove what you no longer need. Dedicate yourself to patchwork and embroidery and sewing the frayed edges of your dresses, and restore a piece of furniture and repair everything worth repairing. Everything worth repairing. The rest throw away with gratitude and with the awareness that its cycle has ended. Fixing and removing outside of yourself allows you to fix or remove what's inside of yourself. You know, another beautiful analogy of what do we need to let go of in this time? What do we need to release? What do we need to repair? And other things that we can realize we're hoarding and are not important in our life any longer, that we don't want to continue to carry them. Master, and then what? What can I do all the time alone? Sowing, even a seed in a vase. Take care of a plant, water it every day, talk to it, give it a name, remove the dry leaves and the weeds that could suffocate it and steal the vital energy. It's a way of caring for your inner seeds, your desires, your intentions, your ideals. So what seeds are you planting right now? What seeds can you be taking care of right now? Master, if the void comes to visit me, if fear of illness or death comes, talk to them, prepare the table for them, reserve a place for each of your fears, invite them to dinner with you and ask them why they came from so far to your house. What message do you want to bring? What message are they bringing you? What do you want to communicate? Master, I don't think I can do this. It is not isolation that's your problem, but the fear of facing your inner dragons, those that you always wanted to get away from. Now you can't run away. Look them in the eyes, listen to them, and you will discover that they put you against the wall. They've isolated you so they can talk to you, like the seeds that can only sprout if they are alone. You know, so I think this is another beautiful way. It's posted on my wall if anyone wants to read it or share it. And it's another beautiful way of saying that our truth lives in the stillness, and that the medicine of this time is that we are being presented with our truth and we can't avoid that. So learning the art of surrender is something that I have had as a lesson repetitively for the last decade, and I get better at it every time and faster at being able to move through it. But it's an interesting one, you know. Surrender isn't something that you learn once. You think that you've surrendered, and art calls to you to surrender some more, to surrender deeper, to trust the process of life and the divine and something bigger than us. So I hope that this has been helpful for somebody who is struggling right now with the truth that's being presented to them. And if they're feeling battered and bruised by the bitch slaps that life is giving them, please go back and watch the whole video. I'm glad that some of you were able to tune in live and catch this, and for others, they'll catch the replay. There's a ton of videos on YouTube under Kirsty TV, the Kirsty TV channel, and there's a playlist called COVID-19 with some mental health videos and some meditations and a whole lot of different resources for anyone who is finding it especially hard to sit with the truth that's being presented to them. Sending you so much love.